Hi everyone, welcome back once again to this educational channel called Learn Biology with Janet. Today we will continue with our subtopic 10.1 on types of circulatory systems, and this topic is from the Form 4 Biology KSSM syllabus, Chapter 10, entitled Transport in Humans and Animals. This lesson is also suitable as revision for Form 5 students who are studying the KBSM syllabus, the O syllabus. And it is from Chapter 1 of the Form 5 Biology syllabus, entitled Transport. So this subtopic is entitled Types of Circulatory Systems, Part 2. And in this second video, we are going to study the circulatory systems of an insect, a fish, and an amphibian such as a frog. Memory aids will also be given at the end of the lesson to help you remember some of the terms that are used to describe the circulatory systems of the different organisms. Now there will be a third video on the circulatory system of humans. The learning outcomes for this lesson are as follows. After this lesson, you should be able to compare and contrast the circulatory systems in complex multicellular organisms, such as the insects, the fish, and the amphibians. Now, for the circulatory system of humans, we will study that in the third video, Part 3. Firstly, let's look at an overview of the different types of circulatory systems in the complex multicellular organisms. So there are two main types of circulatory systems in the complex multicellular organisms. And these are, number one, the open circulatory system, and number two, the closed circulatory system. The open circulatory system is found in many invertebrates, which are animals without the backbone. And these include the insects, prawns, and mollusks, such as the snail that has a soft body and a hard shell. Whereas the closed circulatory system is found in the vertebrates, which are animals with a backbone. So examples of the vertebrates are the fish, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and birds. Think of this suitable acronym, FARM-B. F for fish, A amphibians, R reptiles, M mammals, and B birds. Okay, so a very good acronym for the different types of vertebrates. Now, the closed circulatory system is further divided into the single circulatory system found in fish and the double circulatory system found in the other vertebrates. So the double circulatory system is divided into the double incomplete circulatory system found in amphibians and reptiles, and the double complete circulatory system found in mammals and birds. So for our syllabus, we'll be studying the open circulatory system in insects, and then the closed circulatory system in fish, amphibians such as the frog, and mammals such as humans. So here are the notes for the overview just now, but I will not be going through it because it's simple to understand from the schematic diagram, from the chart just now. But basically, there are two main types of circulatory systems in the complex multicellular organisms, the open circulatory system and the closed circulatory system. So for the open circulatory system in the invertebrates, such as insects, mollusks, and prawns, there are exceptions too. For example, the earthworm has a closed circulatory system, but we will not be studying that. All right, these are exceptions where there are invertebrates with the closed circulatory system. But we'll leave that out because our focus is on the insects, and then also on the vertebrates that have the closed circulatory system, like the fish, frog, which is an amphibian, and humans, which is a mammal. We'll be studying fish, frog, and mammals, and then also insects. Let us now discuss the first type of circulatory system, that is the open circulatory system in insects. What is the meaning of the word open circulatory system? We have to know the definition and memorize it. So in an open circulatory system, the heart, for example, the heart here is a tubular heart, pumps the haemolymph or blood-like nutritious fluid through the haemolymph vessels, for example, the aorta here, and then the haemolymph will flow out directly into the hemocoel or body cavity where it bathes the cells, and exchange of substances then occur between the haemolymph and the cells. So in the open circulatory system, the haemolymph is not always contained in the haemolymph vessels, but it will flow out and bathe the cells directly, okay, in the hemocoel. Now, the haemolymph is actually the equivalent of blood in the higher organisms, okay. In the open circulatory system, the fluid that circulates in the body of the organism is not called blood, it's called haemolymph. And so haemolymph is a blood-like nutritious fluid, meaning it contains the nutrients and also hormones that will be transported to the body cells, for the body cells to receive the nutrients. Now, haemolymph transports nutrients and hormones, but not oxygen. Oxygen is transported by the tracheal system to the body cells in the insects, as you may recall from the chapter on respiration, the previous chapter on respiration. Okay, so the tracheal system transports the oxygen, okay, through the trachea and then to the tracheole, and then the oxygen will diffuse into the cells. All right. Whereas, so haemolymph doesn't transport oxygen to the cells, whereas blood, the human blood transports oxygen. That's a big difference. And then haemolymph does not have the hemoglobin or the respiratory pigment, the red respiratory pigment, so it is yellowish in color. If you have ever stepped on an insect like a cockroach, you see that the fluid that comes out is pale yellow or transparent a bit. So that's the difference between haemolymph and blood. Blood is red in color, the haemolymph is yellowish, and then blood transports oxygen, haemolymph does not. Okay, so remember, in the open circulatory system, the circulating fluid is called haemolymph, not blood. Next, let's look at the heart now. What is the structure of the heart? So the structure of the insect's heart is like a tube, a long tube. So it's a tubular heart with many chambers. You see, there are many tiny chambers that are joined together. For example, certain insects have about 5 chambers, and certain insects have more than that, more than 10 chambers in the heart. Okay, and this heart is filled with the haemolymph. So the heart can contract and pump the haemolymph out to fill the body cavity for the exchange of substances, right? So, and then the heart has tiny openings called ostia. The singular form is ostium. Okay, all these openings, the yellow colored ones. So what is an ostium? It is an opening with a valve in each chamber of the heart, in the wall of the heart. And this ostia, all these ostia, allow the haemolymph to flow back into the heart after the exchange of substances. So because of the valve, the ostia will ensure there's only one-way flow of haemolymph back to the heart from the hemocoel. So let's look at the circulation of haemolymph in the insect. First, the heart will contract. When the heart contracts, it pumps the haemolymph out of it through the haemolymph vessel or the aorta. Okay, and then the haemolymph will flow out of the aorta into the hemocoel or body cavity, where exchange of substances then occur, where when the hemolymph bathes the cells, then exchange of substances occur. For example, nutrients diffuse from the hemolymph into the cells. Waste products diffuse from the cells into the hemolymph. Next, when the heart relaxes, the pressure of the hemolymph inside the heart will be reduced when the heart relaxes. So then the hemolymph outside the heart will then flow back to the heart through the ostia, or the tiny openings here. Then the cycle will start again. So what is the weakness of this system? This circulatory system suffers from low hemolymph pressure, because when the hemolymph flows out from the hemolymph vessel into the open space here, the pressure will drop, will be reduced. The pressure of the hemolymph will be reduced. So the flow of the hemolymph is slow, and the transport of substances like nutrients to the cells will be slower. And that's why oxygen needs to be transported by another system, and that's the tracheal system to the body cells. Okay, so the hemolymph does not transport the oxygen to the cells. Here are some additional diagrams of the open circulatory system in insects. So these diagrams are similar to the one in your textbook, to the ones in your textbook. Thus, I will explain them so that you can understand them better. Now, the first diagram shows you the dorsal view of the heart. That means the top view. When you look at the cockroach from the top, the cockroach is running around on the floor and you're viewing it from the top. That's the dorsal view. So we can see that the heart consists of many chambers. In the cockroach, there can be up to 13 chambers in the heart. The chambers means the cavities in the heart, right or not, which is filled with the hemolymph. Same like the word chambers that we use for human heart. The human heart has 4 chambers, 2 atria and 2 ventricles. Now the textbook uses this term, cavity segments, in place of chambers. So, but this term, frankly, cannot be found, I cannot find it on the, when I refer to the references in the net. So most of the articles and encyclopedias and articles refer to the cavities here as chambers, just like for other organisms. They also have chambers in the heart. Okay. Now for exam, you can use both. I advise you to write down chambers bracket cavity segments to make sure that you get your marks, because sometimes the terms in the textbook are used as part of the model answers. Okay, so it's better to write down the terms used in the textbook too, right? So chambers, if you're asked to explain the structure of the heart, you can say the heart is, in the cockroach or insect, is tubular with many chambers or bracket or cavity segments, with many chambers or cavity segments. Okay, to make sure you get your marks. Now, then the flow of hemolymph, okay, is seen here, is represented by these arrows. So when the heart contracts, the hemolymph will flow out through the aorta, which has an open end, and then the hemolymph will flow out into the hemocoel. So it will flow at the front end of the insect, and then it will circulate around in the hemocoel or body cavity that is in the body of the cockroach. Then after that, the hemolymph will flow back to the heart via the openings called the ostia, which you can see on both sides of the heart here. Pairs of openings called the ostia, to allow the hemolymph to flow back from the hemocoel into the heart. Now the second diagram is the side view of the insect, again showing you the tubular heart, the purple color structure here with the ostia, and then the short aorta, and sometimes there are some branches, okay, of the hemolymph vessels, all right, which are also open-ended. Then the hemolymph flows out here when the heart contracts, flows into the hemocoel and bathes the cells, and then exchange of substances occur, and finally the hemolymph flows back to the tubular heart, okay, through the ostia. Then what is this white tube-like structure here? This is the digestive tract that runs from the mouth until the back part of the body. So it is not the hemocoel. Some books wrongly label it as the hemocoel. The hemocoel is around the digestive tract. It is the body cavity in which the haemolymph will flow into to bathe the cells. So for the open circulatory system that we have discussed just now, based on the diagrams, here are the notes. I'll read through quickly as I've explained all of it. The open circulatory system in insects. Definition. In the open circulatory system, one or more hearts pump the haemolymph through haemolymph vessels, and the haemolymph flows directly into the hemocoel where it bathes the cells. So the haemolymph is not always contained in the haemolymph vessels, but it will flow out and bathe the cells. It will be in direct contact with the cells. Structure of the heart. It is tubular with many chambers. So the textbook uses this term, cavity segments, you can write it in brackets, that have tiny openings called ostia. Singular form is ostium. Ostia contain valves to ensure the one-way flow of haemolymph from hemocoel back to the heart. Circulation of the haemolymph. When the heart contracts, the haemolymph flows out from the heart into the aorta or haemolymph vessel, and then the haemolymph flows into the hemocoel or body cavity. The haemolymph bathes the tissues or cells, and then the body cells exchange waste products and nutrients with the haemolymph by diffusion. Nutrients will diffuse from the haemolymph into the cells, and waste products will diffuse out from the cells into the haemolymph. Then when the heart relaxes, the haemolymph flows back into the heart through the ostia. Okay, so remember for the cavity segments, write down both terms, chambers, bracket, cavity segments. We have discussed the open circulatory system in insects. Let us go on to discuss the closed circulatory systems in the vertebrates. So first of all, the closed circulatory system is better than the open circulatory system because the closed circulatory system has higher blood pressure. The blood is at higher pressure and flows faster in the closed circulatory system. Next, what is the meaning of the word closed circulatory system? Now, in a closed circulatory system, the blood is always contained in the closed blood vessels, which are continuous, and in this way, the blood is distributed to the whole body. So when we say the blood vessels are closed, it means that there are no open ends where the blood flows out, the whole blood, where the whole blood flows out and bathes the cells. Okay, this does not happen. So the whole blood is always in the closed blood vessels, which are continuous. That is the meaning of the closed circulatory system. We will study the closed circulatory system in fish, frog, and humans. For humans, we'll study the circulatory system of humans in the third video. Now, for the fish, the heart of the fish has one atrium and one ventricle. That means the heart has only two chambers. And the fish has a single closed circulatory system. The frog has a three-chambered heart consisting of two atria, the right atrium and the left atrium, and one ventricle. The frog has a double incomplete closed circulatory system. Humans have a four-chambered heart with two atria and two ventricles. And these are the right atrium, left atrium, and then the right ventricle and the left ventricle. So humans have a double complete closed circulatory system. The interesting thing is that as we study the circulatory system in the fish and then the frog and the humans, we will find that there's a gradual improvement in the circulatory systems. And humans have the best circulatory system. Humans and mammals have the best circulatory systems of all the organisms here. Let us discuss the first vertebrate, which is the fish. So the fish has a closed single circulatory system. Just two words. closed and single, right? Firstly, the word closed circulatory system we have discussed just now. It means that in this system, the blood is always contained in the closed blood vessels, which are continuous. And in this way, the blood is supplied to the, or it is distributed to the whole body. So blood always flows in the closed blood vessels that are continuous. The next point is we have to explain the single circulatory system. So in a single circulatory system, blood flows through the heart only once in a complete cycle. Starting from this point, blood flows through the heart. This is the heart, once in one complete cycle. Coming back to the same point, or in one complete circulation. Textbook says blood flows through the heart once in one complete circulation. Must mention the word in one complete circulation. Okay, right. Next, the heart, the structure of the heart. What is it like? The fish heart has only two chambers, one atrium and one ventricle. That's all. Now, how is the flow of the blood? So, starting from this point, deoxygenated blood flows into the atrium and then is pumped to the ventricle. So, the one-way flow of blood from atrium to ventricle is ensured by having this valve. The valve ensures the one-way flow of blood from atrium to ventricle, and it prevents the backflow of blood back into the atrium from the ventricle. So from the atrium, the blood flows into the ventricle, and ventricle pumps the blood into the artery. So from the artery, the blood flows to the Gill capillaries to receive oxygen. Alright. Now the purple part here shows mixed blood, meaning there's some deoxygenated blood and some blood that is oxygenated. But after that, when a lot of oxygen has diffused into the blood, then this blood becomes fully oxygenated. So next, the blood flows through this artery to the systemic capillaries, which are found in the body tissues and found in the organs of the fish, such as the intestines, the liver, and the brain of the fish. The organs of the fish have all these systemic capillaries. So the aim of the systemic capillaries is to allow the oxygen in the blood to diffuse into the cells, and carbon dioxide diffuses out from the cells into the blood. So now we have deoxygenated blood, which flows back to the heart via the veins or through the veins. Okay. Now, what is the weakness of this single system? The weakness is that the fish circulatory system has very low blood pressure. And why is that so? Because once the blood passes through the capillaries, like the Gill capillaries give resistance to blood flow. When the blood is flowing in the in the Gill capillaries, which are many, and they have large total surface area, so there's friction between the blood and the walls of the capillaries, and this gives resistance to the blood flow. So finally, when the blood flows out from the Gill capillaries, the blood pressure has been lowered, and also the blood flow is slower. And after that, it did not flow back to the heart to be pumped under high pressure to the systemic capillaries and to the body cells. It straight away flows to the systemic capillaries to supply the oxygen to the cells. So again, through these systemic capillaries, when the blood flows through it, the blood pressure will become even lower. So when the blood flows back to the heart, it is at very low blood pressure. So if blood pressure is very low, the flow of blood is slow, then the supply of oxygen to the cells will also be slow. And this will cause the cellular respiration to be slower. and less energy is produced for the activities of the organism. That is the weakness of the single circulatory system. Low blood pressure compared to the double circulatory system in the frogs and humans, which we'll study afterwards. Now, I've always wondered where the fish's heart is, So let's have a look at the picture of a fish from the side view. The heart is actually quite near to the gills, all right? And here we see the atrium and the ventricle of in the heart. And then this arrow shows the flow of the deoxygenated blood to the gills. Okay, so that the oxygen can diffuse into the blood. After that, the blood that is oxygenated flows to the body cells or to the systemic capillaries and the organs of the body. And after that, deoxygenated blood flows back to the heart. So the organs are not shown here. The systemic capillaries are not shown here. So here are the notes for the circulatory system of the fish. The type of circulatory system in the fish is the single closed circulatory system. In a closed circulatory system, the blood is always contained in a continuous closed blood vessel and it is distributed to the whole body. In a single circulatory system, blood flows through the heart only once in a complete circulation, and the blood flows in only one direction. Now, the structure of the heart. A fish's heart has two chambers. A fish's heart has two chambers, one atrium and one ventricle only. The circulation of blood. Firstly, the oxygenated blood is pumped by the atrium to the ventricle of the heart, and then the ventricle pumps the blood into the artery, which transports the blood to the Gill capillaries, where gaseous exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide occur. So oxygen diffuses into the blood of the fish, and then oxygenated blood flows in arteries to the systemic capillaries of the organs and body tissues, so that oxygen diffuses into the cells from the blood, and carbon dioxide diffuses from the cells or tissues into the blood capillaries. This is called the gaseous exchange. Next, the deoxygenated blood flows back to the atrium of the heart via the vein. Let us now discuss the third organism, which is the frog or the amphibians. What type of circulatory system is found in a frog? A frog has a closed, double, incomplete circulatory system. So remember these three words: closed, double, incomplete circulatory system. And you must be able to define these three terms. So in a closed system, the blood is always contained in the closed blood vessels, right? Which are continuous throughout the whole body. And in this way, the blood is distributed to all parts of the body. So the blood is always contained in the closed blood vessels. That means there are no open-ended vessels where the whole blood can flow out to bathe the cells. There's no such thing. The whole blood never bathes the cells. Not like in the open circulatory system, where the haemolymph bathes the cells. Next, the meaning of the word double. What is a double circulatory system? So in the double circulatory system, the blood flows in the blood vessels and then through the heart twice in one complete cycle. So if you start from this point here, just right above the atrium here, the blood flows, the deoxygenated blood flows into the right atrium, into the one ventricle, and then to the lung and skin capillaries. So that's the first time that the blood flows through the heart. And after the blood has received the oxygen, the blood flows back into the heart again through the left atrium this time and into the one ventricle. So this is the second time the blood flows through the heart. And after that, the blood is pumped to the systemic capillaries where the body tissues are found. And then after that, it flows back to the same point here. So in a double circulatory system, the blood flows through the blood vessels and through the heart twice in one complete circulation. So you must always mention in one complete circulation. Some students write, in the double circulatory system, the blood flows through the heart twice, full stop. Now that means that in the whole life cycle or lifetime of the frog, the blood only flows through the heart twice. Now that's really impossible. So blood flows through the heart twice in one complete circulation. Mention that. Then the second point to note about the double circulatory system is that the blood flows in two directions. For example, you can see the first direction is shown by the white arrows, and the second direction is shown by the yellow arrows. So this causes the system to have two circulations. There are two circulations formed because of the flow of blood in two directions. The first circulation is called the pulmocutaneous circulation, and the second circulation is called the systemic circulation. Let's look at the first one. In the pulmocutaneous circulation, blood flows from the heart to the lung and skin capillaries and then back to the heart. Okay, so the deoxygenated blood flows out when the single ventricle pumps out the blood, and then the blood flows to the lung and skin capillaries where it receives oxygen. Oxygen will diffuse into the blood from the respiratory organs or respiratory structures, okay, from the environment into the blood. The oxygen diffuses from the environment into the blood in the lung and skin, okay, and then after that the blood becomes oxygenated and then it flows back to the heart. That is the pulmocutaneous circulation. Pulmo means referring to the lungs, and cutaneous refers to the skin. Okay, this is the part where in this circulation, the aim is for the blood to receive oxygen from the environment, or to allow oxygen to diffuse into the blood from the environment, so that the oxygen can be transported to the cells later on in the systemic circulation. Okay, so pulmocutaneous circulation means the circulation of the blood from heart to the lung and skin capillaries to receive the oxygen from the environment and then back to the heart. Now how about the systemic circulation? Systemic circulation is from the heart to the systemic capillaries and back to the heart. So the aim of it is so that oxygenated blood can flow to the body tissues, okay, found among the systemic capillaries, okay, or in the same location as the systemic capillaries, and the oxygen diffuse into the body cells so that the cells can use the oxygen in cellular respiration to produce energy, and carbon dioxide will diffuse out from the cells into the blood here. Then after that the blood flows back to the heart. Now that's the systemic circulation. Okay, so the systemic capillaries will supply blood to the body tissues in the organs, such as in the different organs of the body. Okay, then what about the term incomplete circulatory system? So in the incomplete circulatory system, the deoxygenated blood and blood that is oxygenated mixes in the single ventricle, because there's only one ventricle. And the reason why there's only one ventricle is because the ventricle is not separated into two parts by a septum, which is a tissue right in the center of the heart. For humans, we have a septum that divides the heart into the right side and the left side. It's like a wall. Okay, the septum is like a wall that divides the heart into the right side and left side completely. So humans have a complete circulatory system, but the frog has an incomplete circulatory system because it doesn't have that septum to divide the ventricle into the left and right side. So because of the one single ventricle, the oxygenated blood will mix with the deoxygenated blood, okay, in the one ventricle. Now, what's the weakness of this system? Well, if there's an incomplete circulatory system, it means that the deoxygenated blood will mix with the oxygenated blood that is transported to the cells. So this type of blood will supply less oxygen to the cells, and there will be slower cellular respiration. Less energy will be produced for the activities of the organism. Okay, so the incomplete system has a weakness compared to the complete system in humans. However, the frog has a closed double circulatory system, which gives it that advantage. Okay, double circulatory system is better than the single circulatory system, because in the double circulatory system, blood flows twice through the heart in one complete circulation. That means that the blood that is oxygenated flows back to the heart. After it has received oxygen, it doesn't go straight to the cells, for example, like in the fish, but the oxygenated blood will flow first back to the heart first, so that it can be pumped under high pressure to the body cells. Then the flow of blood will be faster, and the cells will receive more oxygen, and cellular respiration will be faster. More energy will be produced for the activities of the organism. So the closed double circulatory system causes the organism to have higher blood pressure and faster flow of blood, faster transport of oxygen and nutrients to the cells. So it's better compared to the closed single circulatory system found in the fish, which has lower blood pressure. Now here are the notes concerning the amphibians or the frog's circulatory system. We have discussed all this in the diagram just now, so I'll go through the notes very quickly. The type of circulatory system found in the frogs is the closed double incomplete circulatory system. Now in the double circulatory system, blood flows in the blood vessels and through the heart twice in a complete circulation or cycle. The blood flows in two directions, forming two different circulations: the pulmocutaneous circulation and the systemic circulation. And in an incomplete circulatory system, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood mix together in the single ventricle. The reason is because the ventricle is not completely separated by a septum into the right and left sides. Next, what is the structure of a frog's heart? A frog has a three-chambered heart consisting of two atria and one ventricle. The two atria are the right atrium and the left atrium, and there's only a single ventricle where the deoxygenated blood and the blood that is oxygenated mix. Blood circulation. Blood flows in two directions, forming A, the pulmocutaneous circulation, and B, the systemic circulation. Thus, the frog's circulatory system is called a double circulatory system because it has two circulations. So A, the pulmocutaneous circulation, transports deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs and the skin, where exchange of gases occurs and where oxygen diffuses from the environment into the blood. Thus, oxygenated blood flows back to the heart. B, the systemic circulation transports oxygenated blood from the heart to the body tissues, so that oxygen can diffuse into the cells from the blood. Thus, the blood will become deoxygenated, and it flows back to the heart, the right atrium of the heart, through the veins. Now, the word pulmocutaneous circulation. Pulmocutaneous comes from two words: pulmonary, relating to lungs, and cutaneous, relating to skin. So, it's because the lungs and the skin are the respiratory structures that allow the oxygen to diffuse into the blood. Lastly, here's some advanced information about the advantages and weaknesses of the frog's circulatory system. Firstly, the frog has an incomplete circulatory system. The weakness of this incomplete system is that Oxygenated blood mixes with deoxygenated blood in the single ventricle of the frog's heart. Thus, oxygenated blood that flows to the body tissues provides less oxygen to the cells as it is mixed with the deoxygenated blood. Thus, this will cause the rate of respiration and metabolism to be lower, and less energy is produced for the activities of the organism. However, the frog has two advantages. The first is that it has a double circulatory system, where oxygenated blood that flows back from the lungs and skin flows to the heart again, the second time, so that it is pumped under higher pressure by the single ventricle to the body tissues. Thus, the blood will have higher blood pressure and the blood flow is faster, so that more oxygen is supplied to the body cells for faster cellular respiration to produce more energy for the organism's activities. Another advantage is that the frog has a closed circulatory system as compared to the open circulatory system in an insect. So the blood pressure in a closed circulatory system is higher compared to that of an open circulatory system. And blood flows faster in the closed circulatory system to provide oxygen at a higher rate to the body cells. Let us look at some super acronyms that I have invented to help you remember the types of circulatory systems in the organisms. The first one is IO, Farm B is closed. Let's say you go to a farm to visit the animals, to see the animals, but the farm was closed. So you're disappointed, and this is a phrase expressing this disappointment. IO, Farm B is closed. So I is for insects, O is for open circulatory system. And then the farm B, of course, are all the vertebrates like fish, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, birds. And closed means closed circulatory system. So IO, farm B is closed, right? Now, for the vertebrates, there are three acronyms to describe to help you remember the types of circulatory systems. For example, fish has a single closed circulatory system. So you must remember the S and the C. So remember seagulls. S for single. Catch. So C here for closed. Fish. Okay. So seagulls, of course, eat fish, and they can swoop down from from above the sea, from the sky, and they can catch the fish from the sea. So seagulls catch fish. That means fish has single closed circulatory system. Take out the first letter. The first letter from the words in the acronym. Now, frogs. Frogs have a closed double incomplete circulatory system. So remember, frogs catch delicious insects. Okay, so all the C stands for closed, and we use the word catch. Fish also we use the word catch. Okay, that represents the closed circulatory system. So in this case, seagulls catch fish, but frogs catch delicious insects. Okay, C in the catch for closed, the D here for double, and I for incomplete circulatory system. Okay, the last one, humans have the closed double complete circulatory system, so it's CD, C. So humans catch delicious crabs. Okay, closed, double, and complete circulatory system. All the C's are for catch. Okay, to use these acronyms, you need to review them quite constantly at the beginning, maybe about once every few days, and later it can be pushed into your long-term memory after a constant reviewing. So make use of these acronyms. So for example, this one is very useful. Frogs catch delicious insects. To remember the type of circulatory system in the frog. and IO Farm B is closed. Here are some definitions of some of the important terms that we have studied. So I will leave you to look through these notes on your own when you have time. You can screenshot it or pause the video and read through the terms as we have discussed it in the videos, the first and second video. And lastly, we have the definitions for the complete circulatory system and the incomplete circulatory system. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Do share, like, and subscribe. So till we meet again in the next video, goodbye.